Hey, this is Bond Diesel, and today I'm bringing you the next Intel Insights. We will be covering the unknown voice recordings. We now know that is the Black Tusk, but let's listen. I'll give my thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Boss says the situation is legit. Then it's legit, but that don't mean any of this is doable. These are some very powerful individuals, apparently. Capable of pulling strings on folks that don't even realize they're puppets. Pretty much guarantees a double cross, then. Guys like us are a loose end for people who don't want loose ends. Our boss has some thoughts about that. Thinks we'll have sufficient leverage to come out okay. I think he's envisioning us as the Praetorian Guard of the new dynasty. Well, he's ambitious, I'll give him that. Don't forget, we have ridiculous firepower. That does tip the scales a bit.
Raptor Base, this is Raptor 2-7. Keep your hands on your goddamn head!
2-7, this is Raptor Base. Go ahead.
We intercepted some individuals that claim to be from the theater settlement.
Understood, 2-7. They sound a little unruly.
They're a bit feisty, that's for sure. What should we do with them?
Depends how much paperwork you want to do.
As little as possible?
Then it's best they never existed.
I see your point. Probably even better if we don't discharge our firearms.
You catch on fast, 2-7.
How's Bonnie fitting in? The other Sinky's a rabid fucking weasel. They aren't wrong. Yeah, well, you need to make it work. It'll work just fine. I ain't yet met a Bronco I can't break. How soon will the unit be ready to deploy then? It depends on the assignment. We could be ready tomorrow if we're just cracking heads, but more complicated targets will require custom training. Look, nothing fancy for now, but there's a lot of groundwork to lay. Obstacles to be knocked down. Knocking shit down is my specialty. Yeah, I know it is, Bar, but you be ready to move out in a week, and no fuck-ups. You have my personal guarantee.
He's left-handed. Huh? He would have held the pistol in his left hand.
Big fucking deal. You think anyone's going to notice?
I think we had best not take chances, unless we want to face the consequences.
Whatever.
Wipe the grip and do the job properly.
Fine. There. You happy?
Of course not. This situation is completely fucked.
Oh, Mendes wasn't going to unfuck it. That's for damn sure.
Can't dispute that.
We have to assume there were no survivors.
So what does that mean for us?
A new plan and a new enemy.
Division?
Bingo.
Then we need to do something about their advantages.
That's the new plan.
Where are we supposed to get that kind of intel?
We already have it. I got a list of key targets right here.
We're seriously going after the division?
We are seriously going after them, and we are going after them seriously. We are gonna gag them, blind them, kick them in the nuts, and steal their lunch money. This is gonna be fun.
We finally agree on something.
In a stand-up fight, a couple of division agents ain't nothing to worry about. The problem is getting them in a stand-up fight. They're crafty fuckers.
They've got a vulnerability. Same one anybody has when they're trying to protect something.
There are also traitors among them that we can use to our advantage.
The first step is to cripple their network. That'll expose them, make them weak. Then, we start picking them off. Our primary task is to reclaim the capital from the hostile forces that presently control it. These include operatives of the Strategic Homeland Division, now considered a rogue agency that must be brought to heel. Civilian militias and remnants of the three dominant factions active within the area of operations must disarm and submit to the rule of law, or they will be classified as insurgent groups and dealt with accordingly. We've seen little evidence that anyone in this shithole of a city intends to play nice. So I advise that you shoot first and shoot last. It is notoriously easier to negotiate. What is this thing, exactly? It's a medication that cures viral sicknesses, in the way the antibiotics cure bacterial sicknesses. Probably would have been pretty useful 7 or 8 months ago. There were a couple different broad-spectrum drugs in clinical trials at the time. but mass production was out of the question, even if they'd been fast-tracked.
So where did this one come from?
Facility in Ann Arbor. We're chasing that down separately. Now your task is to recover those doses that were shipped to DC.
What are we gonna do with them?
God damn it, use your imagination, Bar. Who's not gonna sell their soul for a miracle cure?
Hyenas?
That's what they call themselves. Don't ask me.
Huh.
They're essentially an alliance of gangs led by a council of representatives from the toughest subgroups.
Federation of assholes.
Pretty much.
What about the True Sons?
Former JTF commander went bad. Started his own private army. They've been the dominant group in DC for a while, when it comes to territory and firepower.
And the outcasts?
Crazies.
That's very incisive, Brenner.
They survived a forced quarantine. Got fucked over pretty bad. They're pissed about it. Now they're on the rampage. Typical terror-style tactics, mostly. Dabbling in biological warfare.
What the fuck is wrong with people?
Like I said, crazies.
Well, they're all the division's problem for the time being, but, maybe we can destabilize the situation a bit?
Hyenas are probably the best bet. Feed them some material support, they'll be a thorn in everybody's side, and they aren't organized enough to present a serious problem in the long term.
Good recommendation, Eli. I'll talk to the boss.
Situation's changed. I need you to back off the division.
Back off how far?
All the way.
That's pretty fucking far.
Look, you got a problem with that, Bar?
Well, hell no, boss. I'm just surprised is all. It's not like you to call off a hunt.
Look, you know how it goes in this business. Today's enemies are tomorrow's friends. If there's a way we can all come out of this as teammates, so much the better.
You really think the division is gonna play ball?
Doesn't seem unreasonable to expect them to keep doing their fucking jobs.
That's not answering the question.
You know how it goes in this business.
And there we have it. So I thought this was interesting. I did think it was odd that it seemed like they were all about Black Tusk, besides one, the Secret Service one. Now I'm assuming potentially the agents are Black Tusk members, or this seems to be, you know, the idea through the story seems to suggest that the Black Tusk, you know, at least helped in orchestrating this whole thing. It's also pretty clear that the Black Tusk are just kind of paid mercenaries. So, you know, they talked about how, and they recognize that. So they talked about how, you know, they know that they're loose ends, you know, that they could be double crossed because they're basically, you know, dealing with a bunch of very powerful people. What I did think was interesting is that mostly this was the same people from the Echoes. So if you look for the Black Tusk Echoes, most of the people featured in this are, you know, the Schaefer and some of the other ones that we see even interact with April Keller. So if you haven't found that one, I suggest looking for it. Yeah, but the agent one, the Secret Service one, was interesting. You find this on, I assume, the dead body of Mendez. But you would think that they would have collected, I don't know. But you find this one, and it becomes, there's hints that maybe President Mendez did not take his own life as the story had gone. And this pretty much confirms it. And I believe there's actually an echo related to this as well, showing how these agents were dispatched. So then they moved the conversation to taking down the Shade Network, and how they're going to need to do that. They basically talk about how they're pretty confident that they can take the agents one-on-one, but the whole, you know, challenge is getting the agents one-on-one. So they recognize that, you know, with their Shade tech and just their training, that they're tough, that they're Weasley. They also seem to have a lot of reverence for the agents. They seem to have a lot of respect for them, and their capability and their power. The talk about traitors within the division is interesting. I know a lot of people think that Kelso might be a traitor. I don't. I actually think she's like one of the only reliable people involved. But you know, maybe I'll be proven wrong. But you know, they may be even referencing someone like Keener and stuff like that, just not directly. They there's a commanding officer who's unnamed, who talks about taking the city back from Shade, and kind of about how important that's going to be for them, and that it's going to be challenging, but that they want to basically take it back from the agents, and if they have to basically treat the settlements like insurgents, that they will. I thought it was, they moved to the broad spectrum antivirals, so this goes into the book a bit. So if you haven't read the book and you're still watching these for some reason, there's some spoilers here, so that is what it is. But in the book, it ends essentially with Ann Arbor being attacked by the Black Tusk, and they're there looking for the antivirals, only to find out that the antivirals had been shipped out, or at least some of them had been, to DC already. So I'm assuming the ones that they were, I believe from the story, they're under control. They have those under their control, but they want to know where the rest of them have gone. So I thought that tie into the new book, Broken Dawn, was really, really cool, and it was nice to hear that. It was kind of cool. It wrapped up and talked a little bit about how they talked about all of the different factions in DC. They don't mention the the underground faction or the ambushers, but I assume that's on purpose. We have a lot yet to learn about them, I'm guessing. But they reveal and confirm, as we know from the Hyena Stronghold, the invaded version, that they are that they were helping the Hyenas to help destabilize DC, to try to make their job easier once Black Tusk started rolling in. The very last one is really interesting because it comes from an unknown voice. I'm assuming this is the person. I don't think it's Waller, even though I think a lot of people, and a lot of us have assumed at this point that Waller is involved with the Black Tusk. But someone has basically talked about backing off the division completely, and even to the point of today's enemies being tomorrow's friends. So I'm definitely curious. I'm wondering if there's something going on, and whoever is in control of the Black Tusk. They talk in the very first puppeteers thing here about how they could be cut loose. The Black Tusk are not the ones organizing this. So if you remember from Division 1, the LMB, at least that battalion, that group of the LMB in New York City with Bliss, basically went rogue. They weren't working for anyone. They were working for themselves. In this case, the Black Tusk is still working for someone. And in theory, if they no longer are working for that someone, they may go upon their own desires or needs, or whoever the next payer is. So this last bit, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be, like when they leave the area, whenever we beat out the invaded missions for every week, or if this is some kind of, continuation of where we're going with the story, with the DLCs, and even year 2, year 3, whatever we end up doing. So I don't know. I thought these were really interesting, especially that last one. I thought it brought some good context. Again, I think people really need to experience and hear all of these things to have a more broad idea of what the story of this game really is. I understand why some people feel like it lacks a bit in the narrative department. I don't think it's quite as bad as some others seem to, but that's only my opinion. So I really hope you enjoyed this. I enjoy doing these videos and doing a little speculation, a little chit chat, and a little review of some of this. If you like the video and you want to see more, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below with what you're thinking. Bond Diesel is the username on Twitch, where I stream multiple times a week, and where you can find me on Twitter. If you want more Division 2 discussion and updates, you can check out my podcast. It's the Echo Cast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else that you can listen to podcasts. And that's all I have. So, until next time.